The idiom today is called 胆小如鼠, which means timid as a mouse. In Western culture, we call them scaredy cats. In China, we call them scaredy mice. Look, I know, this is an insult to mice everywhere, and I do think that mice deserve better PR. But the story here is not about making fun of mice, but making fun of humans who may have qualities of a mouse. Hello, friends. How is your year of the rat going? We are going through a pandemic. China and the US are in the middle of a trade war. It's pretty nasty. I'm just here to tell children's stories. All of that aside, I just want to say, please be safe, everyone. Stay hydrated, wear masks, wear gloves, try to avoid people. I mean, people aren't that great to begin with. I'm just kidding. If anybody needs any masks, please feel free to email me. Sushi and I are more than happy to send you some. Now again, the idiom is called as timid as a mouse. This is how the idiom goes. Do you want to say it with me or do you not want it to stay? Okay, all right. This story happened during a very confusing time in Chinese history. It was called the Southern and Northern Dynasties, and the years spanned between 420 to 589. There were actually a lot of dynasties during this time period, so historians kind of jumbled it together and called that entire span the Southern and Northern Dynasties. There was a lot of social disorder, a lot of chaos, a lot of fighting. And the frequent dynasty change also happened because there were natural disasters and also people just couldn't stay peaceful because we're people. So going back to the story, there was a man who was an official actually, and his name was Yuan Qinghe. Yuan Qinghe was an official during the Wei Dynasty, which was a time period, during this span of time. He must have been a pretty smart guy. I mean, he was an official after all. Because Yuan Qinghe was in a position of power, his commanding general came to him one day and said, "Sir, we're being attacked by the Liang Dynasty. What should we do? Should we attack?" Yuan Qinghe says to his commanding general, how about we retreat and surrender? Let's just call it a day. Keep the peace. We won't fight. No bloodshed. Shortly after, the Liang Dynasty takes over, and the new emperor, whom we'll call the Emperor of Liang, says to Yuan Qinghe, "I like the way you roll, kid. You didn't even put up a fight back there. And you know what? Because you were so quick to surrender, I'm gonna let you keep a little bit of your power. I'm gonna make you the king of Wei." By being too scared to fight, Yuan Qinghe actually gained something from being so timid, and he ended up being the king of Wei. Okay, not a bad deal, right? Well, a few years passed, and the Emperor of Liang now wanted Yuan Qinghe to lead some of his troops to attack an opposing city called Xiangcheng. Yes, I got that right. Yuan Qinghe obviously has to listen to the emperor's orders, so he leads the troops all the way to Xiangcheng. When Yuan Qinghe and his troops get to the city of Xiangcheng, one of his soldiers who is doing recon runs back to Yuan Qinghe and reports, "Sir, the enemy is approaching." Yuan Qinghe is already a little bit scared at this point, and he asks, "Well, how big is the opposing army?" And the little soldier says, "The enemy has about 30,000 troops, sir." Just by hearing 30,000 troops, Yuan Qinghe becomes shaken to the core. He's so scared, and he's like, "All right, guys, let's just go home. Let's fall back. We'll never talk about this again, and we'll just pretend that it never happened." When news of his surrender travels back to the Emperor of Liang, the emperor goes, "You are such a garbage person. You might speak like an official and act like an official, but you are timid as a mouse." And that is where our infamous idiom comes from, as timid as a mouse. The story pretty much ends here. The Emperor of Liang tells Yuan Qinghe that he's not fit to serve the emperor, and then he banishes Yuan Qinghe to the countryside. Something like that. The point is, Yuan Qinghe is as timid as a mouse because this guy could not do anything. I think the moral of this idiom is, look, it might pay occasionally to be a little conservative and to do things on the safe side, because it actually worked for Yuan Qinghe the first time, right? By surrendering to the Emperor of Liang, he actually saved his life and his troops by not fighting. But over time, you start to see a trend. It's not that this guy is afraid to, shed the blood of his troops. It's more like he's just too afraid to do anything. And when you're too scared to do something all the time, then that'll kind of backfire on you, because then you just won't really achieve any result. This idiom kind of reminds me of another saying that we have in English. Pessimists tend to outlive optimists. Yes, that is true. It is wise to be cautious and to play it safe sometimes. But not all the time. You have to find the balance between being too scared and to just have enough confidence to get shit done. Because we don't want to be like Yuan Qinghe in this situation, right? If you're superior, if your boss wants you to do something, you kind of have to you just gotta go do it. You gotta be strong, get results, so you don't get fired, especially not in this economy. That is how the idiom as timid as a mouse, 胆小如鼠, came to be. Again, no offense to mice out there. We still love you. Having qualities of a mice is still fantastic. I hope you guys learned something out of this idiom, and I really look forward to your personal anecdotes. Feel free to share an example of a time when maybe you were too timid to do something and that actually costed you an amazing opportunity. Thanks for watching, you guys. Stay safe.